episode 5, back from our nice, relaxing spring break.
Yes.
A week off.
We all made it back alive and in one piece.
Yep.
Barely.
Yep.
Well, a lot has happened in the sports world. We kind of missed a big week, but I don't know about you guys. Like, I'm sure y'all were watching games, and I hope our viewers got to watch some games. But before we jump into the madness of March, we have a few sports updates for you. So, Hannah, do you want to jump into this one?
Yes. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about Ja Morant's issue with he flashed a gun on a live and social media video, and we kind of gave our takes on that. But since we talked about it last, he went through a suspension that was, I guess, initiated by the NBA. He had already kind of stepped away in early March after this whole thing went down, but I don't think that was NBA enforced until a couple weeks later. And so since we last talked about it, he served an 8-game suspension, but he was back on the bench this week for Monday's games, and they played the Mavs. I guess they have a return to competition reconditioning process that for people that miss games or miss practices or serve suspension, stuff like that, they have to undergo before they can play again. So I think that's what this week is going to look like for him before he gets to get back out on the court. His appearance at the game Monday didn't look awkward. It didn't look I don't know. Like
uncomfortable.
It didn't look uncomfortable for anybody. Like, he came, the Grizzly fans were proud to see him. It seemed like he was good with his team.
I think that's the best response they could have hoped for, and I feel like from a locker room standpoint, to me, that shows that he did his due diligence, and I think he is kind of back in the good graces with them.
Mm-hmm. And he has everybody's support.
Yeah. I do think it is interesting how they have the return to competition, just because I feel like that would be a standard if you're coming back from an injury, just to make sure you can move freely.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that's kind of interesting in his case, just because he wasn't out on a physical injury, more of like a emotional in a way.
I wonder if they also mean mentally
that he's ready for all of it to come back, and like the pressure and stress of a game, which I think is good as an organization that they're looking out for their players. But
because he is young and he plays a big role, and so I would assume that time away could be beneficial, but you could also lose some aspects of that quick thinking and stuff like that.
I definitely think like playing at the highest level, like it would be hard to take a few weeks out completely and then jump back into it. But not only did he have a couple game suspensions, but he also had a salary suspension in $669,000.
Yeah,
So.
that's, I mean, to us, that sounds like a lot. I don't know.
I don't think that he's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, for him, I don't think that was a huge, that might not be making a dent in his salary, but.
I just like that he has so much support from other NBA players because they understand mistakes happen. I noticed Kyrie hugged I almost said Ja Rule. But it's because I'm going to bring him up. But it's because Kyrie hugged Ja after the game, and they exchanged some words. And, I mean, he's no stranger to controversy. Yeah. Kyrie has had his suspension and his trades and this and that, and he gets it. But I think that an argument that's being made now is Ja Rule, as I said, brings up he was negatively influenced by hip-hop. And I didn't think that it was going to cause that big of an argument because I was like, okay, like, guys, this is basketball and, like, character. But then Skip Bayless came on and was like, he's using Young Boy as a celebration song. Like it's a parade inside my city, yeah. That song is about, like, murder and, like, just causing an absolute ruckus. And I'm seeing a lot of that theme of, is it okay?
Like a negative influence.
Yeah.
I think like what you put into your mind through like songs, and I think in the day and age that we live in now through social media, everyone is influenced by people like this. And I think like you do have to step back and think of how is this going to influence the younger generation. And I do think that in this case, he did step back and think like those actions aren't acceptable and I need to do my due diligence to correct my path because he has influence on people.
And he did make a statement that was kind of owning up to it and apologetic in a way and understanding that his actions were wrong and he had consequences, which you can always respect. And I mean, it wasn't just the one video. Like we mentioned just in our episode, a couple of things that he was just caught up in. So I think it's also important to note that he wasn't just suspended, just spending time at home. He was in a therapy program, and he's still working on himself. And as a young, like he's super young. He's 23. I think that you'd much rather cover your bases now and undergo bettering yourself now than down the road, and maybe he'll become more well-rounded from this, and hope he learns from it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And I really appreciate that he is taking that responsibility and being like, hey, like, I did mess up. Because there are some celebrities that we see, some star athletes that we see that are doing similar things, that are making similar mistakes, and they will be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like they play the victim card.
Yeah, yes.
I like the responsibility. I think that's a part of growing up, and good on him.
We did talk about, we didn't know for sure what his consequences would be because there were specific rules with, like, you know, having firearms in an airport, having firearms in an NBA facility, but it did come out that the NBA couldn't prove that he had the gun on him during the flight. They couldn't really prove that he had it within the NBA facilities in Colorado. And then we also talked about, well, police-wise, could they press charges or do anything like that? And the Colorado police went through an investigation, and they concluded that there was no reason for him to be charged with a crime. So I think that's good for him, good for the franchise, good for the league that this didn't get to the courts or anything like that. But you just hope that the suspension and the fine was just enough to get through to him, and maybe he cleans it up.
Yeah, and like I think he had an interview with someone, and I believe in the interview he made the remark like the gun wasn't mine.
Yes,
he made a
did say
statement
that.
like that, and I think that interview helped kind of clear the air and kind of paint the picture a little bit better than just what we saw in those clips.
Yeah, and there were some while we were on spring break, some vulgar videos and pictures put out on the internet of that night, and it's
definitely media's painting him to be
bad,
horrible.
All right, should we jump into the madness of
Yes.
March?
Yes.
I hope y'all did y'all's homework and you watched all the games because I was glued to the TV. I still am. I mean, still going. But the good stuff, to me, the first week is the best because it's so many games. The first round and second round is just
watching multiple at one time.
All the time.
And you have your upsets, and you're kind of getting to see new players that maybe you didn't follow during the season. Kind of like a recap of one of our previous episodes on the Cavinder twins. They actually had a pretty good upset with their team against Indiana.
Yep, at Indiana.
Yes.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's extremely hard to go to
That's
somebody's
the land
home.
of basketball.
Yes.
Hoosiers.
Who's
Yeah.
your favorite twin, BTW?
Haley or Hannah?
No, that's what they made their Instagram caption.
Oh,
Who's your favorite twin?
I love that.
Oh, like
That's
who's-
kind of
who's
fire.
like a
your-
play on
Hoosier.
words.
I like that. That's clever.
They
Good job
posted
on
that
them.
after the game.
They posted a bunch of like, I saw that and I was like, okay, I like
I like
it.
the cleverness.
But it's like subtle, you know?
Yeah.
It's not.
And I like how in this game, like, especially after all of their NIL drama, like, some people were like, they're not even good.
Us.
Literally us.
But, I mean, Haley stepped up and sunk some clutch free throws in that game to put them up to 70-68 over Indiana.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this, because we did talk about how when they responded to their NIL drama, they responded via TikTok, and we talked about how probably the best response would just be to go out and just go to work and, you know, do what you got to do on the court to prove people to respect you, and I think that that's what they've done. They always said that they left Fresno State after 3 years to get to March Madness, to get to the NCAA tournament, not for NIL, not for anything else. And I even saw one of them say, like, to be honest, we were fine with our NIL at Fresno State, which they were. You know, going to Miami wasn't anything that, it was a was more, but it wasn't anything that they desperately needed. I mean,
they could have, like, being that close to LA, they still could have gotten very similar opportunities.
When they already
sure.
were. They were already living large. And so I think that honesty from whichever twin said that even makes it more apparent that they made this move for the sport, for the love of the game, for that competitive side of them that wanted to just go get this experience that not everybody gets.
And I think maybe they tuned into our podcast and wanted to prove us wrong.
Yeah,
because,
they probably wanted to do that.
Haley had 36 minutes, and Hannah came off the bench with 19 minutes. And Hannah came off of the bench leading the other subs in minutes. And, I mean, they put up notable stats, and they definitely helped their team secure that win. So
I'm happy for them.
I am too.
I also saw a lot. I guess their coach was talking about the best part of them and what has drawn her to them is that they're just gym rats, and you don't get to that stage if you're not.
No.
And I think that that's probably a side that I want to talk about with people, and I want the social media people to realize is that they're not just like the pretty blonde girls.
They're not Addison Rae.
That dance or, make these videos. Like, they're more than just that content.
Why did you just grab my shirt?
Because Addison Rae went to LSU.
She did.
How ironic.
Big Addison Rae girl over here.
No, actually.
Fangirl today.
No,
But I just think it's cool that, like, a lot of people probably just know them from their For You page, but really, they're hard workers.
They grind.
They're hard workers. They're not. It's not like, oh yeah, we're just busy on
just TikTok.
Yeah, we're just busy on TikTok all day. Like, they're in the gym, they're putting shots up and putting those practice players to work on the rebounding side. And I don't know. I just thought we should follow up with last time we talked about them when we said that they needed to take care of it on the court, and they did.
Yeah.
And now they get a chance to go to the Sweet 16, and they're set to play a 4 seed, Villanova. Which important to note that Miami is a 9 seed, and then Indiana was a 1, so they upset them. And then now they'll play Villanova this week, actually. So between now and then the time this airs on Friday, and if they win that game, they will play the winner of a 3 seed LSU and a 2 seed Utah. And LSU has been, Angel Reese, I don't know if you guys have followed her, but I think she's awesome. Like, she had a crazy block where her shoe had fallen off.
Oh
yes.
my gosh. And I think it was her with the lash.
Yes.
Her lash got knocked off her face. She goes into the locker room during like halftime or whatever, fixes it.
She says Barbie's back.
Barbie's back. I was like, twin.
I love it.
I was like,
I love that interview.
I would love to see Miami play Angel Reese and Kim Mulkey. I think that would be a fun.
2 worlds collide.
Yeah, because, I think that would be a cool women's tournament. Mm-hmm. Also, you mentioned her free throws. Did y'all see where she shushed the crowd? Mm-mm. She made the second one, and there was a timeout called right after the second one. So she makes the second one, and then everyone's like walking to their benches, and she stands there for a second, holds her follow through, and then gives a little. I love that.
Yeah, like, I love the passion, and like I think what's fun about the women's tournament is like kind of the attitude and the personalities that come out. And I mean, you see it on the guys, but I feel like
it's
you
different.
really see it in the girls.
Girls
They're
get like petty. You saw the video of the girl walking in line.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we have to talk about that.
Louisville.
Yes.
What did she say, bro?
Well, I can't really tell what the Texas girl said because the way they flipped the camera. But looking at Shaylee Gonzalez was the girl behind her in the line. Shaylee's face was like, so I can't imagine it was anything nice, but there was an interview after the game with the Louisville girl, and she was like, things can get chippy in basketball, and it really wasn't chippy during the game, but, like, she didn't really want to say what was said after.
But I like how she handled it. When she was asked that question, what was said, she was not going to tell them, but she brought it back to her team and how well her team played and just said, that's part of the game.
We love a humble queen.
Yeah, well, she was just kind of saying, like, that is part of the game. It is. But we're not going to let words after the game distract from how good the game was. And I thought that was a really good response
but also, to
controversy.
You shouldn't be talking like that when you get 30-pieced.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I'm pretty sure the girl that said that put up 20. So
I mean,
I
right
saw
on you, but I
somebody
mean,
arguing, but I was like, still, why would you say that? It's like
in my opinion, when you're on a national stage like that, like,
no, don't. I mean,
why?
no, especially when you did just. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
No, I get you, but like, I don't know, like, in my opinion, like, it's not worth that. Like,
Maybe, what's her name? Haley from Louisville. Maybe she like took the other girl's boyfriend or something.
Oh, that'd
could
be
you
Like,
imagine?
maybe there's
before
some
the
like
game?
See, there's
something
never-
behind it.
the drama.
There's rarely this drama in like men's basketball. Every once in a while, there will be like.
They need to make like not like a Real Housewives. They need to
Oh
make
my
a
gosh.
real NCAA women's basketball.
Yeah, because
Love triangles and
last year
such
it
are
was
going
so
on.
dramatic because they were advocating. All the women's teams were advocating for like more of a freedom or like a free,
Like facilities.
yeah, like to make it more equal because the men's were getting so much.
The men's was ridiculous, and
Yeah.
then the women's is a hotel.
So that was all the
Did
drama
you,
of
did you
last
see the
year.
swag of this year? It's still not like, I
Is
mean,
it?
it's better, but
They're
They
still
just
not
don't
gonna
bring
be
in
the
as much money.
yeah, that's a conversation for another day.
But we talked about today how the men get to go play at sites and then
Mm-hmm.
the women will play at schools. But I think that helps with the
I think that
the
helps fan
fans.
bases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because those gyms would not be looking how they do if people,
If you
the
had to travel.
students rarely would travel for.
And I mean, like I was on LSU's campus last week when they were setting up for those games, and like it's serious. Like we couldn't go into any of the facilities because they had everything locked up, and
Yeah.
like there were a ton of people there setting up for games. So I definitely think that women have kind of gotten respect in that area.
Yeah,
But another big upset, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit bigger of one.
it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
This one was kind of wild. Kia, do you want to kind of talk about it?
Yes. So, sorry. For the second time in history, a 16 seed defeated a number 1.
We love an underdog.
We
Yeah.
love it because that just shows like the hard work, right?
Yeah,
That's what I think is great about like the tournament is having little Cinderella teams like this
Yeah.
and teams that would never be on someone's radar just go and shock the country.
yeah.
And this one has a pretty unique story and kind of the coach's background and the universities.
So this is Fairleigh Dickinson Knights.
Yep.
Did I say it? Okay. I was not familiar with them at all.
Oh yeah,
Not a
guilty.
Anything was.
No.
Guilty. I was not either.
Yeah. So when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, well, I don't know who you are, but I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you. They're the shortest of all the 363 Division I teams in the country.
Yeah.
Little
And-
David and Goliath.
I love
Literally.
some
Literally.
Bible
And
work.
number 35 from Purdue was huge.
Wasn't he like 7'4"?
I don't know, but he's huge.
He was huge.
He's a big man.
But their tallest player at FDU is like 6'6". Like my dad
That's
coaches
still
high school
not
basketball, and
like-
that's like we have like 3 of those.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy though that in a normal world that is
So tall.
ridiculous, but you get to
And in
basketball and it's
basketball,
like,
meh.
Yeah.
like,
Some
okay,
right.
That's all y'all got.
Well, I mean, I'm 6'8", so.
6'6" is really
Point guard.
But kind of some background on them is their head coach, Coach Anderson. This was his first season at FDU, and he went 4-22 last season at a Division II college, and actually brought 3 of his former Division II players with him.
Wait, I think
He was
he was not 4-22.
FDU was
was
4-22.
4-22 before they brought
our
him in.
producers out here putting false facts on our scripts.
I was thinking,
What?
I was like, how would he get that job at that 4-22? I got
If you're
so
desperate, you're
confused.
desperate,
I was
baby.
No, this was Tobin Anderson's first season at FDU, who was 4-22
Okay.
last season.
Okay.
Saying that FDU,
FDU
was
was
4-22 last season.
Gotcha. But like regardless, their top scorer, I believe he dropped 20. He was averaging 7 points last year in D2. And just like the turnaround, like shout out D2. Like we come to
Yeah,
play.
they brought
Is-
3.
Don't sleep on
Don't,
us.
do not.
3
Don't
D2.
make us play Nebraska, but don't sleep
Please
on
don't.
us.
Please don't.
I won't actually do that. So if that is something anybody is trying to do, I will not go.
But also, this is nothing new for Purdue. The last 3
Yeah.
tournament runs, they have lost to a 13 seed or lower. So in 2021, they lost to North Texas, which came in as a 13. In 2022, they lost to St. Peter's,
Go
was
Peacocks.
Yeah.
Peacocks.
Cinderella story right there. That was ranked 15, and this year they lose to FDU, which came in as 16. So
Stop giving these guys the good rankings.
yeah, but
Don't give these
Literally.
guys a high seed.
I was talking to my parents about this because we were watching the games in the car, and like if I was Purdue, I would have came in with the biggest chip on my shoulder in the world. Like I'm gonna beat you, because after FDU won their game in, the coach in the locker room was saying, like, the more I watch Purdue, the more I think we can beat them.
Which is crazy.
Yes, that's
That is-
outlandish
You
to say.
you were in the first 4 and you just won. You're there by default because they didn't even win their conference tournament. They
No.
lost their conference tournament by 1,
That's a bold statement.
and you are only there because the team that won the conference tournament, who would have the automatic bid, they can't play in postseason because they're making their transition from D2 to D1. So you're really there by default. You win your play-in game against another mid-major, Texas Southern,
Yeah,
and then you're about to go play a 1 seed in 3 days. And
that's bold.
I mean, you look at the camera, you look at your kids, and you're like, yep, the more. I mean, but he backed it up.
Hey,
He put his money where his
This man
mouth
backed it
is.
up.
fake it till you make it.
But-
Fake it.
and he
till
didn't
you
have to
make it.
fake
No,
it, though.
he had it, and
They
look what
did.
happened.
They did that.
Even if he didn't believe that, I would tell my team that too. I'd be like, okay, well, we're about to go and absolutely.
But I do think he came out in an interview and did say that he did regret saying it, like for the national television. But if I was Purdue, I would be
I'd
like,
be mad.
I'd be like, are you serious? Like, no, we are going to beat them. But
Well, and they
got-
probably
got beat.
were. I mean, you never go into a game intending to
Yeah.
lose. I mean, they probably were fired up, but
Yeah.
it's just not how the cards fell. I mean, with him saying that, like, I would coach that way. I would make that statement to my kids, but with the cameras there,
Not on
knowing
Yeah.
that's going to
national
be on
television.
TV or knowing that's going to be on social media, that is a bold.
Because it ended up being really cool, but imagine if they would have lost
If
it.
they would
They'd
have
been
got
like,
obliterated,
you're
I'm like, oh, that's
silly.
crazy.
yeah, he wouldn't have been taken seriously for
He would
a
have
while.
gotten a lot of
He
criticism.
probably would have
for
become
it.
a meme or something. Like,
Well, that's not the only upsets that's happened in this tournament. I feel like this tournament's kind of been a little crazy. The Brainiacs are coming to play
Yes,
this
sir.
March Madness.
Yes, sir.
Princeton University came in as a 15 seed and took down number 2 Arizona.
which Arizona, our president, well,
Joseph.
so some of you might not say he's your president.
But
My
whoever,
grandparents.
whatever we claim him as, Joseph.
Biden had Arizona going all the way and winning the whole
Yeah.
tournament.
Right.
Did you see that he made his bracket after March Madness had already started?
Do you
He
even
probably
think
forgot,
he
girl.
made it?
He probably
not.
forgot.
He probably
Do we
didn't
think
make
he made it though? Like somebody in the White House is probably like sit
Nah.
there
Their
and then
social
like
media
sent it
coordinator,
in.
well,
Yeah.
that's so
I'm not going to say that, but yeah, he probably didn't even make it. Didn't even know what was going on. But
Yeah.
another upset was 13 seed Furman took down number 4 Virginia.
Which Virginia has a tough tournament history also.
Mm-hmm.
They won they won the ACC this year. So they were set up fine. But they just I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, this game kind of had a wild ending because player was trapped on the sideline and just kind of threw it back.
Yeah.
Just kind of like wildly, and Furman player got it, took it down and dunked it.
I think he made a
got
shot.
point,
I think he made a shot.
scored
Yeah.
to go up and win the game. And my favorite part is that player that went and scored, he's walking into the locker room with his coach like flabbergasted, like, Coach, he just threw
it
the
away."
ball.
Yeah.
He just threw it. Like, what are you doing in
was
that
shocked.
situation? But
I just feel like
the madness.
Furman needs the ball so bad in that moment because they're down.
That's the one
and
thing you
Why
don't
would you
do.
You're trapped in the corner. They're either going to foul you or they're going to try to tie it up. Why are we throwing the ball away? There were 2 players right there. One of them will foul you or one of them will tie the ball up. And so I just could not believe that when I was watching that he threw it basically to half court and then that Furman player, I mean, just
I feel like that's something that would happen with like the high school league that we were, or not the high school, the elementary and like children's league that we were helping run this year.
Yeah.
That's something that we would see at one of those games.
That's what would happen
not
if I
NCAA.
still played basketball to this day.
you would turn the ball over.
I would
No,
turn the
Kia,
ball.
we would coach you better than to do that.
Yeah,
No, just a
but
little
I
bit
mean,
of coaching,
got you.
got it.
thinking about Virginia and the whole FDU, the 16 versus the 1, the upset, you know, if history repeats itself,
They could go on to be a good Cinderella.
if history repeats itself, Texas Tech will be in the national championship next year against Purdue. Because the last time a 16 seed beat a 1 seed, UMBC beat Virginia in 2018. Remember the Retrievers, the Golden Retriever mascot?
Yes.
And so Virginia was done, and that was the only other time in history other than on Friday when a 16 seed has beat out a 1 seed. And then the next year, so in 2018 that happened, the next year, 2019, Virginia goes all the way and wins the title against Texas Tech. So I'm praying that history repeats itself, and next year Purdue is playing Texas Tech in the national championship.
There we go.
Because
she's writing the script right now.
yeah, I'm right. I mean,
We'll
but
see
I'm
if it
going
comes
back to an old script.
Hey, if we've seen anything
You have to
recently
use
in
some-
college athletics, the scripts are just being reused.
Yes, and you need some inspiration, and you took what you needed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, the fact that they lost to a 16 seed one year and then they, as a 1 seed, and then they went to the national championship and won it the next year, you know.
Well, before we dive into some Texas Tech drama per se, we have one more upset that had happened. Is that number 8 seed Arkansas took down the number 1 Kansas.
Yep.
Muscle Man was so excited.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry,
that
but if
was
my coach was
iconic.
named Muscle Man,
That was
I don't know what
iconic.
would happen. Like, I don't know what would happen.
I mean, I'm curious if you got any backlash. So if you don't know what happened, any viewers or listeners out there, Arkansas won, and next thing you know, after they win, their head coach is running and like hops on top of a table and rips his shirt off in front of the whole crowd and is like, woo!
Well, here's that thing is that I did not see that, and I thought his name was Muscle Man.
Oh no,
that's why.
that is his name.
Oh,
That is his name.
like seriously?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
guys.
that's how he reacted when they beat Kansas.
He
who-
showed off his muscles.
And Kansas won the tournament last year, and then
Oh man,
they won the Big 12 this year. But they've been playing without Coach Self.
that's
I think
ridiculous.
Coach Self suffered like a heart attack or some about 3 weeks ago, right before the conference tournament, and they've been playing without him. So that's kind of been sad to see. I mean, they're still a good team. They still have good coaches and good athletes there, but I feel bad for Coach Self for
Yeah.
having to miss such a cool experience that he's already obviously been in, but you know, you never want to miss for
Right.
your kids after you've been with them.
I love just that raw reaction and just like not
Yeah.
thinking, and that's what you do.
Could you imagine if our coach did that?
I don't want to.
Our coach is Kia's uncle, by the way.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
I would
don't
go
want to.
home into my auntie and I'd be like, look,
We need
We
to do
need-
some. We need to have a discussion.
the flip.
I would just be shocked. I would be shocked if Coach Poirier jumped on a table like that.
Hey, you know,
I'd be like,
no, you know who would do that? Coach Bell.
Coach Bell would jump on a table.
Coach Bell, I know you're listening too.
Oh my gosh, I want to see Coach Bell
jump.
jump on a table. He's so excited.
Okay, that's
We
our
go
goal.
to weights on
our goal.
Monday.
Ooh, that's our goal. We're gonna
No,
we're
when
gonna
next
win.
comes out, it'll be
Oh,
Monday.
Yeah, you're right.
We're gonna win so big this season that Coach Bell jumps on a table and rips his shirt off.
Yeah, we're not waiting 30. We're not waiting 30 years.
No.
We're
No,
getting
no,
it
we're
doing it
this year.
just for that moment. He'd be like, "Whoa, yeah, generations."
I love Coach Bell. I can't wait to see him do that.
He's a
And
good
he's going
addition.
to too. I bet he's going to.
Oh, I think that's a whole different side topic, but we appreciate you, Coach
We
Bell, because we know you're
appreciate you.
listening.
But so if Purdue's out, Purdue and Kansas, those are the 2 1 seeds are out. Bama's still in,
Houston's still rocking.
and Houston's still in. So we still have 50% of 1 seeds left, which I wonder how frequently going into the Sweet 16 there's only 2 left.
Yeah. Well, I feel like usually like at least one gets beaten out, but do you guys kind of have a favorite team? I know Hannah doesn't because she just roots for good games, but do you have any favorite?
I am here for the plot.
Here for the plot.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
and during basketball, especially because I'm more of a football person. Like I will get into that. I get into basketball as well, but I am very much a player person, especially when it comes to like NBA. For college basketball, I'm just gonna who's working the hardest.
Yeah. Well, I don't have really a team that I'm rooting for, and I want to see good games, but I do have a new favorite player, Marquise Noel from K-State. Watching him play the other day, I mean, he had a great game, and for reference, he's 5'8", and he can still take it to the rim, and he just plays with a ton of heart and passion, and I just think it's impressive, his ability to pass the ball.
Yeah.
How he can have a no-looker and straight to his player for a dish and score, and he actually said in an interview that he watches film on his teammates. So he knows exactly where his teammates want to catch the ball, where they're comfortable shooting, and he knows their tendencies as well as their other opponents. So definitely be on the lookokout for him.
I like K-State. Jerome Tang, did y'all see the video of him like just vibing with the guys before the game, and they're just like clapping?
When he celebrates. And also another kind of unique thing about K-State is they have the player from Florida that I believe 2 years ago was in a game and passed out.
Collapsed,
and thought he would never get to play the game of basketball again, and he's back, and he had a pretty good game. Like, he's been successful, so I think that's also just an inspiration, and a couple of the guys from K-State have said how inspirational his story is. So overall, like, I think...
You're a Wildcat now?
I wouldn't say I'm a Wildcat, but I enjoyed watching them, and I enjoy their story. But,
I'm always down for Big 12 success.
Yeah. The NCAA tournament is not the only madness that has happened in March this week. We have some updates for you about Chris Beard and some Texas Tech updates. So
let me tell you that I called it.
She
Episode
did.
2, I said, I feel like Chris Beard's going to go to Ole Miss.
Let's, Andreas, let's pull up if we can see a clip or maybe like a little sidebar of Kia writing the script of Chris Beard.
Yeah.
What is his career like after this?
Job predictions.
Okay, so I did some research, and I think that in the next couple of seasons, he could end up at Ole Miss or Georgia Tech. Ole Miss or Georgia Tech.
Ole Miss or Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
He
Actually,
literally
no.
listened to the podcast and said, I need to go there.
He watched and said, I got to go with that.
She's smart.
That
She
only
got
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah, he just took your advice.
I saw that, and I was like, are you actually serious?
You should have went and bought another lottery ticket that day.
How many times should I buy a lottery ticket? Like, low-key, I'd be
You do have a good
predicting the
history
future.
with the lottery.
But I'm not surprised by this. I think we kind of expected to see Chris Beard back in the D1 basketball scene pretty soon.
Yeah.
And he's kind of getting the band back together of his coaching staff back at Tech.
Yep. This week he hired Al Pinkins, who was with him at Tech.
And he was there for the run, right?
Couple seasons, here and there. And then Pinkins left. He's nothing new to the SEC. He spent time at Florida since. I'm pretty sure he's been at Oxford before, maybe as like a recruiting coordinator or something. So
he's not new to the SEC. He knows what he's doing.
He's been around the block, and Pinkins is a solid big man coach, and he's a good recruiter.
And I think he's a good add to, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. Chris Beard. He's a good add to him, just kind of with everything that's happened recently. I think Pinkins is known for being a really good man, like a family man, and just overall being a really good guy. I know Richard Isaacs, the father of Pop Isaacs from Tech, put a tweet out there just talking about how Al Pinkins is a real deal and how he just overall is just a really good guy as well as a coach. So I think maybe that will help Chris Beard's image a little bit and maybe help balance him considering what's happened with the media. But his daughters were seen at Ole Miss, but no,
Beard's daughters.
Yes, Beard's. No fiance in sight.
Yeah.
Or girlfriend. I don't know what exactly they are these days.
I wouldn't really expect to see her.
I think considering, maybe she is there, but considering everything that happened, I don't think it would want to be publicized that she's there, because that's just kind of, I feel like, drama following him. But he did say in a press interview that him and True have decided to keep that to themselves and not publicly speak on it.
Yeah.
Which I think is smart for a PR standpoint, because that's a good way to kind of put it in the ground and leave it in the past.
Yeah. I mean, they were grilling him. They were straight up asking specific questions about his arrest, and then specific, did you hurt her? In the report it said she suffered these injuries. Did you do that? Like, straight up. I mean, but what do you expect?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it was good to see, like, he was very, like, calm, didn't get fired up, and just said, hey, like, we're going to put this to bed, so to speak.
Yeah. A lot of people in Lubbock have been wondering if they're still together, and I don't know. I've heard both. Since I was home for spring break, I've heard, no, they're not together anymore, but it's also could be either way. I don't know.
Who knows?
But I do think it was a good PR choice to have the daughters there at the forefront of that day while he was on campus at Ole Miss and on social media. And when he addressed Ole Miss, because I think they're probably trying to paint him in the light of family guy, father, everything like that, and then not having what you might consider the source of his controversy there is probably best. Like, if they're still together, I say she probably shouldn't come around on campus or in the game.
When do you think it would be appropriate for her to come back to the light?
I say at the earliest, like mid-season next year, like January, February. So probably like give it a good year, maybe.
Yeah, let it die down.
Or maybe marry her, because they've been engaged for junior year,
5
senior year,
years,
freshman, sophomore, 4 years. So I guess this August will be 5 years. So maybe the public might see them as like more legit if they got married.
They're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do think it was probably, if they're together, probably a good choice to have the daughters there, because there was some controversy about that when he went to UT and did all of this.
Yeah.
Like, it would be him walking, and then True would be right there with him, and then the daughters that were there would kind of be behind. One of the daughters went to UT while he was there. She's our age. So I'm curious if she'll now leave and go to Ole Miss.
I can only imagine what it would be like going to classes when all of that went down. Like, I'm sure she was grilled by classmates.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like Chris Beard's trying to move on and kind of, so to speak, bury that. And kind of looks like maybe Texas Tech is trying to move on from our beloved Mark.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have.
Yeah.
Mark Adams he resigned. Last we talked about him, it was a week that he was suspended for his referencing. And since then, he resigned. Al Pinkins, who was on that staff, is now said to be going to Ole Miss with Beard. And I think the staff is kind of just dismantled, as the team has also, just because a lot of those guys, this was their first year there anyways. And I don't know, you don't really want to play for someone who didn't bring you in.
Yeah.
So I totally...
You're not designed for the new coach's offense.
I understand a lot of players already getting in the portal just to get a jump on it. And a few of them have. And so just like this year, we saw a whole new Tech team. We probably will next year.
Yes, and I think the Texas Tech fan base needs to stay loyal and kind of unwaver in their support, because I think Tech is going to have some challenges getting new coach, new players, and things like that. But to me, at least, I feel like how they've kind of handled the situation, that maybe more was happening this season than we realized, or that was brought to light. And ultimately, we really don't know because we're not in their practices, but I do think it's kind of interesting how, like, Adams is gone and now Pinkins, and I'm sure more will come.
Yeah, well, and I talked about it last time when we talked about the suspension, that a lot of fans don't understand that when they're making this cry for a new coach, you're saying you want a whole new team, because with the transfer portal, that's just how it goes. That's what's happened. That's what happened to us this year. Because I kind of had a fishy feeling about Adams, and I like him, and I'm sad to see him go. But this year, when Kyler Edwards transferred, and Kevin McCullough transferred, and Terrence Shannon transferred. They also all made it to the tournament this year.
Yes.
Good for them, though. Yep. Good for them. Proud to see Red Raiders playing in the tournament, being successful. But I kind of had this
something was
like some odd feeling whenever that happened. So I guess we'll just see.
Going back to Richard Isaacs, we love his tweets. He kind of did make a tweet about you don't know what goes on behind the scenes and what the players go through, so kind of take it easy on them.
Yeah.
So, but you have more homework. Sweet 16. So by the time this episode comes out, the first couple games of the Sweet 16 will be being played. So definitely look out for those games.
Yeah, Elite 8 will be Saturday, Sunday, and then National Championship will be soon. Final Four will be a couple weeks, 2 weeks, I guess. So, yeah, just keep watching games and keep watching us. Yeah. Subscribe.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that wraps up episode 5, and
Yeah.
More madness to come.
Yeah.
Stanley,
Stanley, cheers for March Madness.
Thank you for watching.